But the grounds crew once more hard at work, as they have been virtually on every homestand this entire year. What with all the rain, record-setting rain we have had in Cincinnati so far this summer. Ryan Price's Reds trying to get out of this very brief 2-game series with a split. A win tonight would be the first win over Kansas City in this, the 4th meeting between these two teams this year. Ned Yost is the winningest manager in Kansas City Royals franchise history. Last year leading his team to the World Series, losing in a thrilling 7-game fall classic to the San Francisco Giants. We talked about those numbers last night. It was a rough go for Yost and the Royals his first 4 years, but now the last season and more than a season plus, they have been mighty good. In fact, Chris, we take a look at the American League standings and checking in on all the races, and you see a whopping 14-game lead for the Royals, who have the best record by a pretty significant margin among all American League teams. The New York Yankees a 1.5 lead over Toronto. Houston 2.5 better than the Angels. And you take a look at that wild card. Well, Toronto's spurt about 10 days ago, putting them 12 games over 500. But Chris, pretty tight thereafter behind the Angels.
Well, it is tight thereafter, and of course you've got Baltimore in the race too. So, you know, Toronto, Baltimore, New York, they're all in the American League East, and it is it's way too early really to start handicapping that American League East. The Central taking care of the Houston Astros, are trying to hold off a couple of teams now. Texas beginning to get some players back and healthy again. And it ought to be interesting in the American League, really, in all the races, including the wild card race, right down to the wire.
Shift gears over to the National League, and the largest division lead is once again inside the Central, although a very different situation with the top 3 clubs there, where you have the Cardinals and the Pirates 70 or more wins, and the Cubs are only 3 short. The Cubs a 3-game lead over the defending world champions, and the Giants only a 1.5 games behind the Dodgers.
A lot of movement there. You know, the biggest surprise, I think, for people is what's happened here in New York with the Mets. No one expected the Mets to be right there. They thought the Washington Nationals would be the team to beat in that division, and they have been in somewhat of a free fall. Maybe they've had their bad streak now, and they're going to be able to come out of that. St. Louis in the Central is very much like Kansas City in the Central. That's pretty much wrapped up, and they're just trying to do what they can do. However, they continue to have injuries. The Pittsburgh Pirates continue to play well, and that may not be over yet. And the Dodgers, we will see them next week. We will head out to San Francisco before the season's end to take care of the Giants as well. But that wild card in the National League, because maybe it's that we know the teams more, and especially given the fact that those 2 Central teams atop the wild card really make it interesting, the Reds will have a voice depending on how they play against those teams in the National League Central Division, who goes in the wild card and who doesn't.
I got a quick question for you here. Would it surprise you, and we have a long way to go, I understand that, but based on what we've seen to this point in time, would it surprise you if the Cardinals, the Pirates, or the Cubs, any one of those 3 won the National League pennant? No, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them.
No, I mean, once you take a look at the rosters through and through, I mean, how the Cardinals continue to win with all the injuries that they've had, it's really remarkable. But those other teams are right there, and the more you see the Cubs play, the more you have to be impressed, because they've got a very much of a veteran starting pitching staff and a young team, and Joe Madden has done wonders with them so far this year. I wonder if he can continue that.
Well, for the Cincinnati Reds, of course, they're going to be right in the middle of this entire National League Central. The way the schedule is set up, it's by and large outside of a series here and a series there. And it's interesting for the Reds that the series here and the series there in September happen to be against the San Francisco Giants and the New York Mets. So once September comes, the Reds are going to be playing teams virtually every night that are very much in the hunt. And the Reds have been a far better home team than they have been a road team. And starting with this series, 20 of their next 26 will be here at Great American Ballpark. But look at some of the teams they'll be playing. Kansas City, you move them off after tonight, but 3 against the Dodgers, all the games against the Cubs, Pirates, and St. Louis. And then those 2 could be critical series against the Giants. The Reds go to San Francisco the second week of September. And the second to last weekend of the year, the New York Mets come here to Great American Ballpark. Well, not quite sure what the holdup here is. They told the teams basically at 8 o'clock that we would be ready to play at 8:45, which gave the starting pitchers more than enough time to make sure they were ready to roll and warm up in the bullpens. And here come the Cincinnati Reds taking the field for game 2 of this series. Let's take a look at Ned Yo's starting lineup tonight. Nearly the same lineup as he had last night, with the exception, of course, on the mound and behind the plate. Escobar at short, Zobrist the hero last night at second, Kane in center. Hosmer at first, Moustakas at third, Rios again at right. Butera catches Guthrie, and Jared Dyson a second straight start out in left field. On the mound for the Reds, how impressive has this young man been? 3 major league starts, 4 major league games, 2-1 record. Opponents hitting 194 against Kivas Sampson.
You got to put yourself in Kivas Sampson's shoes back when he was taken off the roster by the San Diego Padres. I mean, that essentially puts you in baseball limbo. You don't know if you're going to get another shot. You don't know if another team is going to pick you up, or whether you're going to have to start calling and knocking on doors asking for invites to big league spring training. Well, the Reds picked him up off the waiver wire. They invited him to spring training, and he was impressive there. I mean, he always looks very calm and collected on the mound. He still has that stage presence now as a starter. But when you start starting against big league clubs in the middle of the season, that's when you really get a gauge of how well a young man feels adjusted on the mound. And he has looked very, very good. He's got a 4-seam fastball with a lot of nice run on it, can run it up in the zone. His 2-seamer, not a lot of movement, but it throws it firm, and if he hits the corners with it, it can be very good. An overhand curveball is his favorite off-speed pitch. That and a changeup, occasionally throws a slider, but it's mainly fastball, curveball, changeup for Kivas Sampson.
We saw Sampson pick up his first 2 big league wins on the just completed lengthy road trip. His first win came in Arizona. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run in a 4-1 Reds victory, and then they got plenty of offense behind him. The only game they won at Dodger Stadium, 10-3 the final. Sampson picking up a second win. So here we go tonight. Some youngsters perhaps not old enough to get to school, so they're not worried about staying up late, neither mom and dad. So here we go. Sampson to face Alcides Escobar. First pitch swinging. Foul tipped into the mid of Tucker Barnhart, and we're underway. Strike 1 to Escobar. Kansas City shortstop, a .270 batter, 2 home runs, 37 runs batted in. Tapper foul. Escobar had 3 hits in the game last night. And the breaking ball misses. It's 1-2 on Escobar. Zobrist in the on-deck circle, and then Kane. Sampson just turned 24 prior to the start of spring training, and he was very impressive out in Goodyear, Arizona. We saw him 2-3 times working primarily in relief. And here comes a 1-2 pitch off the outside corner. Chris, I love the story you shared that night in Arizona about Ted Powell, longtime major league pitcher, longtime AAA pitching coach for the Louisville Bats, suggesting to Sampson you might want to try something a little bit different.
And it wasn't a major suggestion by Ted Power. I mean, really all he wanted him to do, because he's been watching pitchers a long time, Ted has, and he pitched in the big leagues himself, and he was a fine major leaguer, and he knows that a little bit of tinkering can sometimes yield big results.
There's an at-bat that got away from him. He was ahead 0-2, and he walks Escobar.
And what he really wanted to do was to be able to go and throw that ball for a strike on the outside corner to right-handers, the same spot that he missed on Escobar a couple of times. So he had Sampson move from the third base side of the rubber over to the first base side. And he made the suggestions a couple of times, and Sampson never did anything. And he finally pulled Kivas aside and said, hey, why don't you just try it? The next time he did, he went out and he threw a beautiful 8-inning game. And the start after that was in the major leagues.
Ben Zobrist tipped the game-tying home run off of Aroldis Chapman in the top of the 9th inning to tie the game last night. And we were here for a while thereafter. Played 4 additional innings. Kansas City scoring twice in the 13th in a 3-1 victory. For Aroldis Chapman, his first blown save since September of 2012. In his home ballpark. A ball and a strike on Ben Zobrist. For those of you that didn't see it, you're thinking Zobrist, a left-handed batter, hit a home run off Chapman. Nope. Zobrist is a switch hitter. Just stayed up in the strike zone, and Zobrist did not miss it.
Kind of ironic, really, that Kivas Sampson gets his start against the Kansas City Royals. After all, it was the trade of Johnny Cueto that opens up a spot in the rotation. And Kivas is one of those guys that is up here because of the trades of Leak and Cueto.
2-1 to Zobrist, and a bouncing ball. That's a fair ball. Joey Votto says no way. Down into the corner, on his way to third and being waved around is Escobar. Zobrist throws on the brakes, and Kansas City has a 1-0 lead. Gabe Morales is the first base umpire who made the fair call.
Well, remember, when you're gauging fair or foul on a ground ball, it's where the ball goes over the first base bag. If it goes over any part of that bag, it can bounce in fair territory, and the next bounce can be in foul territory, and it can be a fair ball. And that looks like that was the case there, as it bounced in fair territory before the bag and bounced in foul territory after the bag.
I don't believe this play is a reviewable play.
I don't think it is either. And maybe Brian Price, the only thing he could do is just say, well, can you ask the other umpires and see if they saw something different? But of course, I would think that Gabe Morales was right on top of it, would have the best view of anybody. Kind of a cordial conversation.
Now the crew chief, Mark Carlson, who's working at third base, comes across the diamond to talk to Brian Price.
He wants to get the game going.
So again, does a part of the ball go over the bag? That looks like it may have shaved the corner.
Yeah, hard to tell from that angle because we're not right on the line there, but I guess we'll never know.
Well, to go down in the books is an RBI double. Zobrist is a runner at second base after a leadoff walk to Escobar. And remember, Escobar was behind in the count leading off the game, no balls and 2 strikes. Lorenzo Cain having a good year. 313, 12 home runs, 52 batted in, 29 doubles, 6 triples. go along with 24 stolen bases. Good breaking ball there. 0-2. Tonight marks the 100th day the Royals have been in first place this year, more than tripling the 33 of a season ago. And they have peaked at 26 games over 500 for the first time since the end of the 1980 season. So you're talking about a mighty special year. Suarez will have to cut it loose, and does so in time to get Kane. But the ground out to short advances Zobrist down to third, 1 out in the inning. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Billy Hamilton, if you didn't hear the news earlier, a sprained capsule in his right shoulder, making that diving catch last night. He goes on the DL. So Jason Bourgeois starts in center. Marlon Byrd a night off. Schumacher in there for him. Sam LeCure is back from Louisville. First time he's been with a big league club this season, after really giving the Reds solid work for a 4-year run prior to hitting some bumps in the road last season. Fouled out a play by Eric Hosmer, strike 1. Good to have Sam back.
Well, it is good to have him back. I mean, he's almost a spiritual leader, if you want to call him that, out in the bullpen. I mean, he's a veteran out there. He's been through an awful lot. I mean, there was a time when Sam LeCure was about as good as you can get out of the bullpen, as far as somebody coming in, thwarting a rally, throwing strikes, not afraid of any batter. And he brings an attitude with him. And so many times we start talking about players and stuff and physical qualities and how fast they run or how far they can hit a baseball. But, you know, it's what's inside. And he battled hard to get back here, and I'm very happy for him.
1-1 on Hosmer. Reds infield in. Runner at third. 1 out. 2 balls and a strike. Hosmer's run of 10 consecutive games with an RBI came to a halt here last night when he was intentionally walked with runners at second and third and 1 out in the 13th inning. His 10-game RBI streak set a big league best for 2015 and the 3rd longest in Royals franchise history. 2-2. It's interesting, you know, you think about some of the great players in Royals history, and a number of names might come to mind. Frank White was a great player for the Royals for many, many years, but I don't think he'd be one of the top 4 or 5 picks of the guy who would knock in a run in 11 consecutive games. Mike Sweeney holds the all-time franchise record with 13. 2-2 pitch.
That curveball of Keita Sampson is a put-away pitch. It's got depth. He throws it right over the top, kind of a 12-6 curveball. He does throw a slider. You probably won't see it against a left-hander. That last pitch was the one designed for Hosmer to swing over and miss. Guy's got a nice level swing.
Came back with a fastball and smoked into right field, a base hit. 2-0 Kansas City. So Hosmer is trying to start a new streak here tonight. It's his 72nd run batted in this season.
Yeah, you can just tell the way that Hosmer really attacked the ball at the bottom of the zone, that he likes him down there. I mean, he's one of these typical left-handers that really likes that wheelhouse down, and he just goes down to get that pitch, which, you know, on the chart would look like a pretty good pitch. But but hit it right on the button.
And he continues for the third baseman Mike Moustakas. First pitch swinging, pops it up into foul ground, and this is playable for Frazier. 2 out.
Kind of interesting the way that Ned Yost uses his lineup. There are managers, and Brian Price is one, and Dusty Baker was another, that really were reluctant to put back-to-back left-handers in their lineup. But it does not matter for Ned Yost. He says, hey, if my best guys are going to be Hosmer and Moustakas against a right-handed pitcher, I want him in there to do damage against a starter, not worry about some reliever later on in the ball game that they may have to face on a back-to-back basis.
Well, you made reference last night all the years Ned Yost was, you know, one of the top lieutenants under Hall of Fame manager Bobby Cox, and that was a theory that Cox had during his entire Hall of Fame managerial career. He'd look you in the eye and say, you think I'm worried about what's going to happen in the 7th and 8th inning? Our goal is to jump on that starter and not worry about the 7th and 8th inning. But it is amazing how you get from good baseball men, smart baseball men, the complete 180 on that topic. Ball 1 to Rios. Runner at first, 2 outs, 2 runs home, and another base hit. Already 3 hits for the Royals here in the opening inning.
Pretty much right down Broadway. It looks like it's a low pitch on our Fox tracks, but believe me, when you get that ball a little bit above the knees and it doesn't have a lot of movement on it, hitters like it right in that spot, especially a tall guys like Rios. Seems like the taller the player, they like the ball down low better.
Now Drew Butera, the son of one-time Red, long-time Major League scout Sal Butera. Strike one. He gets very, very infrequent playing time. Only 81 at bats all year long. 16 hits, a home run, 5 knocked in. And if you watched the game last night, you can understand why anybody playing behind Salvador Perez doesn't get much playing time. That guy's a player. Boy, did he hit the ball hard here. A number of at-bats last night. A couple of them very loud outs. 0-1 the count on Butera. 0-2.
Looking at the birth city of Drew Butera, it was in 1983, so that was back in the days of his father's career. Born in Evansville, Indiana, which at that time, if I'm not mistaken, was a farm team of the Detroit Tigers, the Evansville Triplets.
The Triplets?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea why they were nicknamed the Triplets?
No,
Did the owner have triplets?
I don't know that.
Swing and a miss, inning over. Royals come up with a pair of runs on 3 base hits. Reds come to bat trailing. Jeremy Guthrie and the Royals 2-0. to the Royals after an hour and 37-minute rain delay to get this one started. Reds lineup presented by Meyer. Bourgeois for the injured Hamilton in center. Suarez at short. Votto is at first. Brandon Phillips at second. Jay Bruce in right, and Todd Frazier slips down to the number 6 hole. A ladder third of Tucker Barnhart. Skip Schumacher in left field. Kiva Sampson on the mound. The good news for the Reds is Jeremy Guthrie, who pitched very well against the Reds earlier this season in Kansas City, does sport a rather high earned run average.
Yeah, the good news could be the bad news. The good news is that he's got a very high earned run average, second in Major League Baseball of 5.6. The bad news is he threw very well his last time out after being rumored to be on the verge of losing his spot in the starting rotation.
Jason Bourgeois, a rare start tonight. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bourgeois, of course, spent most of his season on the disabled list after he fractured his shoulder in spring training. Tonight is his 7th start, his 4th in center field. His most recent start came in that series back the first week of this month against the Cardinals. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brought up earlier that Guthrie pitched one of his better games this season against this Reds team. That was in Kansas City back on the 20th of May. 6 inning, 5 hits, no runs. Two pitch, and it's rolled over foul. Your alma mater, Chris, St. Xavier High School. You're a proud Bomber.
Nothing like having a whole room full of Bombers here.
Yeah, the whole water polo team, half the swimming team, which of course has won what, about 17 or 18 straight state championships.
The way it was raining tonight, you brought them in here for a reason.
That's exactly right. While the animals were lining up 2 by 2, the St. X Bombers showed up.
Ask how many of these guys behind us know the meaning of jug.
Of what?
Of jug. They all look at. They're all smiling.
Jugs?
Jug.
Jug. I'm J-U-G.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, I'll tell you what it means.
All right, let's hear it.
It stands for justice under God, but it is St. X version of staying after school in detention.
Well, it is not a surprise that you might know the definition of jug.
Did my best homework there.
I tell you what, I could have written a book on that acronym at Anderson High School. 3-2 on Bourgeois. Lengthy at bat here for Jason. 10 pitches already.
Yeah, at this stage of his career, Guthrie throws just about everything he possibly can up there. I mean, really 6 different pitches if you include a slow curve that he's only thrown a few of so far this year, but 5 that he uses regularly.
That's a way to cap off an 11-pitch at bat. Well done, Jason Bourgeois.
Two-seam fastball, and at this point Guthrie just does not want to walk the leadoff hitter after giving a 2-run lead, and Bourgeois takes it from him back up through the box.
Bourgeois 1 stolen base in his only attempt, and here's Eugenio Suarez, who hit a first-inning home run in the game last night. This one lifted down the right field line and out of play. Suarez 8 home runs, 30 batted in, a .293 batting. That was the only run the Reds had all night long. They had Suarez home run in the first. They had a base hit by Bruce in the second. They would play the next 10 innings. 11 total half innings. And they would accumulate only 3 more base hits the rest of the game. 0-2 on Suarez.
And we talked about how Eugenio is having such a good year as a Red. Now, he didn't make his debut until June the 11th when they recalled him up from Louisville. But he's second in batting average among shortstops in the major leagues. Fourth in home runs, even though he's only been up for a couple of months. Just very impressive all the way around. Suarez has been.
That OPS second.
Why?
Ross picked off.
Well, Bourgeois looked into the dugout and said, hey, I think I'm safe, so they're going to take a look at the video, but this still has to be a question that you ask is, why? Unless you're planning a stolen base, you don't even need that big of a lead on a hit and run. You know what really helps there? And they're not even going to review it because it looks like they got it. What helps there is a left-handed throwing first baseman when it comes to picking runners off, because the glove is like it's just a natural carry through motion right to the tag spot. Very difficult for right-handers to do that.
Bourgeois had an 11-pitch at bat. And here Guthrie is facing just a second hitter in the lineup, and this will be his 17th pitch of this inning. Shakes off his catcher 2 or 3 times, and now the 2-2 to Suarez. Misses off the outside corner, full count. Votto waits in the on-deck circle. The Reds are trailing 2-0. We're only in the bottom of the first inning. Kane broke back, has time to recover. 2 outs. Kansas City on defense, presented by Ford. The same everywhere as last night except for the batters. Guthrie on the mound and Butera behind the plate. This is a very good Kansas City defensive team. They pitch well, they hit very well, and they play excellent defense. Now Joey Votto, 307, 21 home runs, 58 runs batted in. Votto 0 for 3 last night, but he did walk 3 times. In fact, his on-base percentage going back to early July is up to 55%. He is reaching base in his plate appearances. By far #1 in Major League Baseball, and over 100 points higher than #2. The slugging percentage second only to Carlos Gonzalez among all National Leaguers since that time, and by far the leader in batting average, hitting almost .390 over the last month and 2 weeks. Ball, 2-strike pitch.
Hey, you know, the second pitch in this at bat I thought was very interesting. Maybe we call it the immediate Johnny Cueto effect. This is the second pitch that he throws Joey Votto. Did you notice a little speed up work by Guthrie? I mean, Cueto's only been with him for a few starts. Guthrie must walk down there and follow him around, maybe watching some Johnny Cueto videos.
3-2 pitch coming to Votto. 3rd straight batter in this Reds first inning. Guthrie's run the count full on.
Most of the damage against Guthrie this year has been by left-handed hitters. 19 home runs he's given up. 13 of those have been lefty hitters.
The payoff pitch to Joey Votto. Straight away center field. Racing bat is Lorenzo Cain, and that one is gone. So now make it 20 home runs allowed by Guthrie, 14 of the 20 from left-handed batters.
Pretty good swing by Joey Votto. All the pitches around the perimeter of the strike zone except the last one. And Joey knocks it out into the berm in center field.
Well, the Reds on the board. Votto clubs his 22nd of the year.
You really don't want to make outs on the base paths when he's due up in the inning. I mean, that's an exclamation point on it.
Especially the way he's been going since the break.
Smoking hot.
And now Phillips puts a charge into one through the smoke, and that one is out of here.
How about Brandon? He gets moved from the leadoff spot to the cleanup hole. And he says, after you put me in the leadoff spot, I'll get you some base hits. You put me in the cleanup spot, I'll go deep. That, folks, is the definition of a hanger.
They might set off the fire alarm here in a minute. Either that or that fellow who's running the fireworks out there is going to need a cup of water and give him a break. Pulled foul. That's the old Billy Connors line. Longtime pitching coach Rich Sutcliffe on the mound over at Riverfront Stadium, and he gave up 3 consecutive home runs. Connors came out of the dugout. Mark Grace, the first baseman of the Cubs at the time. Rick Sutcliffe looked at Billy Connors and said, "What are you doing out here?" He said, "I really don't have anything to say to you at all. I'm just trying to give that poor guy who likes the fireworks, give him a break."
Give him a chance to reload.
Well, Rick Sutcliffe was a good pitcher for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Man. But still, that is one of the classic stories.
No doubt.
Of beating on the mound.
2-2 delivery. And a breaking ball low. This is every batter in this inning. The count has gone to 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Now, what that tells me is...
Except Phillips, I beg your
the
pardon.
Reds are seeing the pitches very well off the Guthrie. I mean, you can judge by radar gun is one thing, but the other way, just watch the hitter. I mean, are the hitters taking good swings? Do they seem like they're picking the ball up?
This one is killed. Straight away center, and Kane able to track it down in front of the wall, and that'll end the inning. Reds get 3 hits. They hit back-to-back home runs. Royals 2 in the first. The Reds 2 in the first. names that have changed uniforms, Chris, through the years between these two teams. Most recently, of course, Johnny Cueto, but Jonathan Broxton came over here. Danny Jackson came over here, had the big 1988 season. And look at some of those other names on the other side, including Hal McRae, who went down as one of the all-time great Kansas City Royals. Cesar Geronimo eventually dealt one of the final pieces of the full dismantling of the Big Red Machine when Geronimo was traded to Kansas City. We begin the second inning of a 2-2 game, and Guthrie bounces out to Suarez.
Now the one difference in the lineup for the Royals tonight is that they got the pitcher batting in the number 8 spot instead of in the number 9 spot. I did talk to Ned Yost before the ball game, but did not ask him if he had ever done that when he was managing the Milwaukee Brewers. I kind of doubt it. It's much more in vogue now.
Number 9 batter is Jared Dyson, and a fastball is low and away. Dyson had 2 hits, a stolen base, and scored the go-ahead run in the 13th inning of a 1-1 game. He led off that inning with a base hit, and after the Reds misplayed a bunt by the pitcher, eventual winning pitcher, Chris Medlin, he would come all the way around from first base and score as the throw to first went all the way down the first base line. Two and two. Nice to see Jim Day back alongside the dugout. He made his way up into the Fox Sports Ohio condominium last night in the 9th inning, getting ready for Reds Live, not knowing, of course, at the time that Aroldis Chapman would give up the home run to Zobrist, and then he just flipped down that old Murphy bet he has out there and hung out until the end of 13.
Well, that's why they call it the condo. Well equipped.
3-2. And there's strike 3 call to Dyson. 2 away in the inning. Jim Day, nice to have you back.
Well, thank you. And while I was on that Murphy bet, unfortunately, Billy Hamilton in that 11th inning, after making a catch, came out of the ball game and then had some inflammation afterwards. They did a test on him today, and as you said, they put him on the disabled list because with that sprained shoulder and only a 4-man bench currently, they just couldn't wait out his return, so it warranted a DL stint. Brian Price, though, says it is not a season ender. If anything, everything goes well, they expect him back after the 15-day DL stint.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. 2 down in the inning, 2-2 ball game. Nobody on. Swing and a miss by Escobar, and he was in this same count leading off the game. No balls and 2 strikes. Wound up drawing a walk and scored the first of 2. And that's the same pitch that Sampson tried to find on a couple of different occasions after getting ahead 0-2, and like that one, he missed. Just missed. They're already in the 8th inning in Pittsburgh. They started on time tonight. Pirates shutting out Arizona. The Diamondbacks will fly to Cincinnati tonight. Reds and the D-backs open a 4-game series here at Great American Ballpark starting tomorrow. Night games tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, day games Sunday. Big weekend. The statue unveiling of Reds first baseman, Baseball Hall of Famer, Reds Hall of Famer Tony Perez. On-field ceremonies after the game Friday, and the unveiling of the statue pre-game ceremony Saturday. Well, the fan brought his glove, hung around through the hour and 37-minute rain delay, and it pays off. Snatch that baby over on the first base side. Back up through the middle. And even if the ball is fielded by either Suarez or Phillips, there's no chance to throw out Escobar. That'll be a base hit.
And once it bounces over the hit of the pitcher's head, Escobar is very fleet of foot, and all the difference it would be an infield hit as opposed to a hit that goes into the outfield.
Escobar 12 of 17 in stolen base attempts. And here's Zobrist, who doubled in a run up the first base line in the first inning.
Now, 3 of the next 4 hitters left-handed. Zobrist a switch hitter. King the right-hander, and then Hosmer and Moustakas.
One ball and 1 strike on Ben Zobrist. And now 2-1. Zobrist can play virtually anywhere. Take a look at these numbers. Well, you put guys on base, and all of a sudden Zobrist becomes just an incredible offensive player. Of course, they were empty last night when he hit the home run off Chapman. 3 balls and a strike. I don't think there's any way to dissect it, and of course those numbers vary player to player, year to year, but it's just very interesting how a player can be so much better a hitter. Now, granted, the pitcher's under a lot of pressure. You know, maybe there's 2 guys on, bases loaded in an inning. But I'm sure, you know, you go through the course of a year, Chris, I don't know what the number of at-bats would be if he had 50 at-bats with runners on base, or 100 at-bats, or 200 at-bats with runners on base. But to be so much better with runners on base than when nobody's on. Probably no rhyme, no reason to it, right?
I think that the way I look at it is this: if you give a pitcher credit for being able to pitch out of tough jams, why can't you give hitters credits for hitting when the game is on the line or when runners are on base? I mean, there are some guys that are just simply better at slowing the game down at crucial moments. I don't think it's just simply a function of, you know, if you're going to hit 300, you're going to hit 300 with runners in scoring position.
3 balls and 2 strikes on Ben Zobrist. And Sampson to the plate. And right through the shift into left center field. Better get it in quickly. Escobar coming hard. He'll stop at third. Throw into second. Safe there. Zobrist 2 for 2 with a pair of doubles. And there he is once again with a runner on base.
Well, he just kind of guided that ball seemingly between the shortstop hole and second base. They're seeing the ball well off Sampson. I mean, you can kind of tell the way that they're staying away from pitches that are just off the plate, although Zobrist goes right downstairs and gets a low pitch the same way that Hosmer did. Pretty good looking swing right there now.
0-1 on Lorenzo Cain. This is a big batter for Sampson. He's already thrown now 50 pitches in the game. We're only in the second inning. He surrendered a pair of runs on 5 base hits. And the Royals have Escobar at third, Zobrist at second after Sampson retired the first 2 batters to start this inning. Cain grounded out to Suarez in the first. Cardinals and the Giants wrapping up their 3-game series. That's a rubber game of that series tonight at Busch Stadium. 3-3 game. Cardinals have just tied it in the last of the 7th inning. And all of a sudden, for a second straight night, the Cubs pitchers can't get anybody out. They gave up 10 in a loss to the Tigers last night. Tigers are batting in the 4th inning tonight with a 7-3 lead over Chicago. Now you see those numbers for Lorenzo Cain with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. He's about at the bottom of the barrel compared to the rest of his teammates. They have been lights out with 2 outs this season. In fact, they've been the very best in all of baseball. Their team leads the major leagues in 2-out situations with a .280 batting average. Now Cain has been great with 2 outs, but not with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. He delivers here. Bobbled in center field by Bourgeois. 2 are going to score, and Kansas City's lead for a second time is 2.
Well, you can just tell the way Lorenzo Cain holds that bat. He is waiting for a pitch down in the zone, ready to get his arms extended. He's a tall guy, kind of long arms, but just watch his stance right here. And when he just attacks this baseball, boy, it seems like everything the Royals have hit have been down in the zone.
Well, the Reds pitching coach under Brian Price is Jeff Pico. He comes out to visit with Kiva Sampson. This is the first time in his first now 5 major league appearances that Sampson has been hit hard. The first baseman Eric Hosmer, he had a run scoring single to right field in the 2-run first inning. Talked about Cain. You really got to watch him over at first. Picked up his 24th stolen base in 28 attempts here last night.
Yeah, but you wonder, would they want to risk running themselves out of an inning when they're making such solid contact? And with Hosmer up, who sprays the ball, but still he's got a big spot open on the right side where you can drop that line drive if Sampson comes inside on him.
Check swing. They appeal. No, says Mark Carlson. 3 straight 2-out hits. Producing 2 Kansas City runs here in the second inning. Phillips will handle the bouncing ball, and that's all for the Royals. 3 hits, 2 runs after an inning and a half. 4-2, Royals in front. Andrew Melman from Cincinnati will win that Tundra. And you can still register for a chance to win it. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Four-2 ball game. Kansas City in front. Todd Frazier dropped down to the number 6 spot tonight in the batting order. We know he's had a tough time of it since the All-Star game. Still has 29 home runs, 73 batted in. You know, we get a lot of mail from fans sent to us here at the ballpark, and you know, whether it's players who get a ton of mail and the broadcasters outside of Marty Brennaman, we get a decent amount of mail. Marty Brennaman would fall in the same category as the Joey Vottos and the Jay Bruces and the Johnny Cuetos of the world. But received a really nice letter from a woman named Barb Riley. It was on this day, August the 19th, 1995. 20 years ago. She attended a game at Riverfront Stadium as Frazier chases one up and away. She was with her college boyfriend, Dan. Dan surprised her in the bottom of the 4th inning with an engagement ring and a scoreboard message that said, "Barb, a diamond for your thoughts." Well, apparently my dad and Nuxie had heard about it. They talked about it on the radio that night. They finished up at Ball State, got married, raised 2 boys, big Reds fans. Here's a flare into center field by Barnhart. It'll fall in a base hit. The boys, Josh, a boy, Josh, and a daughter, Annabelle, they're now 18 and 15. They've been to a game this season. In fact, Jim Day, they came to see you in the condo and they drew a picture of Jim Day. And they were fortunate enough to get it signed by Jim Day and Chris Welsh down at the Fox Sports Ohio condominium. But today, they are celebrating that memorable night from 1995. They live in the South Bend Elkhart area of northern Indiana. They couldn't come down to the game tonight, but they asked if we would say hello.
Well,
and so,
hello and congratulations, and what a nice letter.
Absolutely. Had a chance to meet my dad, they said, during the Reds Caravan a few years ago. Thanked him for that proposal mention. So Dan, this is a surprise to Dan. Barb sent me the letter.
Oh.
Dan is watching right now in northern Indiana. They're both watching together. He had no idea that we were going to talk about this. So congratulations.
Indeed.
20 years ago tonight, a diamond for your thoughts. Schumacher getting the start tonight out in left field. And Guthrie to the plate. Swung on and fouled off. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, Schumacher had a chance to play a lot of games against the Royals during his tenure with the Cardinals. Royals and the Cardinals, in-state rivals, play a pair of series every single year during interleague play, like the Reds do with the Cleveland Indians. And he's gone swinging. Second strikeout in this inning, 2 of them on the night for Guthrie. Well, if you're on the road traveling, you'd like to watch the Reds, and subscribe to MLB.TV Premium. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. 2 away for Sampson. Still looking for his first big league hit. We saw Raisel Iglesias pick up his first major league knock here last night on the old Butcher Boy play. I still can't believe that happened. Not that he got a hit, but that Brian Pena was a runner at first, and they started the runner.
And, you know, the element of surprise, probably the most important part of that.
Two balls and a strike on Sampson.
pretty good looking swing. Maybe just turn up the knob a little bit.
That's all for Sampson and the Reds in the second. They get a single by Barnhart. We move to the third, 4-2 Kansas City.
Kansas City's World Series run last season really took Kansas City by storm, and they called it Blue October. But could it have been a Blue October love fest? Because in Kansas City they had a baby boom. In July of this year they had the most babies born that they have seen. If you do the math, that's right around the time the babies would have been conceived. World Series time. Check out this picture. There's a lot of Royals names going around as well. From left to right, it is Holland Lowe, Finnegan Deal, Everly Royal Pemberton, and Beckett Kaufman Stock. Shawnee Mission Birth Center, which delivers more babies than anyone in Kansas City, logged 473 births in July, breaking the record for births in a single month. Now, the parents of Finnegan Deal, little did they know, a couple weeks after their youngster was born, Brandon Finnegan would be traded in the Johnny Cueto deal. No word whether or not they converted that youngster to a Reds fan. I doubt it, but a October love fest in Kansas City.
Tell you what, that is a great picture.
Sure, it's a great picture.
I mean, that's that's cover of like any big magazine you can think of. That is a beautiful picture. Boy, and they are crazy about their Royals being good again. Last night, their television ratings in Kansas City almost reached 20 overall on the night, and in fact surpassed 20 as we got later and later into the game.
So put that in perspective.
20% of the televisions that were turned on in Kansas City. Now, I mean, you've got 150 choices, whatever the number of channels there are out there. 20% of the televisions that were on in Kansas City during the hours that covered a 13-inning game last night. Of course, those vary. I think they do them in 30-minute cycles or 15-minute cycles. That one pulled down the right field line. But at one point in time during the game last night, .4% of the televisions turned on were watching the Royals play baseball. That is incredible.
And of course, I believe the audience stayed with the game. They're an hour behind us here, so it wasn't quite as late at the ending of that ball game that, of course, ended in favor the Royals.
Hooked into right field, a base hit by Moustakas, and the hits just keep on coming for the Royals tonight against Sampson.
Another low pitch and a line drive. Well, maybe not so low, thigh high, but
and to give you an idea, just to finish that thought about what one magical season can do for a franchise. The average television rating for a Royals game this season is up over 12%. That is a 109% increase from this time a year ago. 109% increase.
So there's a lot of people tuning in to see our friends Ryan Lefebvre and our main man over there,
Rex Hud.
the Hud man.
The Hud man.
The Hud dog, I guess. Isn't that what the Hud dog? Rex and I were teammates as minor leaguers in the Yankee organization.
Well, knowing what he's like now, I can't imagine what he was like then.
As a teenager, I mean, he was just unbundled energy all the time.
Still is.
Yeah. Can't sit still for 30 seconds.
You know, he used to announce the Angels games for a long time, and he came to Kansas City a couple of years ago, and for whatever reason, it just did not get off to a good start. And I mean, the fans were ready to run him out of town. And now, he's the king. You can't help but like the guy.
Oh,
I mean, he
guy.
is just something else to talk to. And if you're wondering about his broadcast partner, you heard the last name. Of course, he used to work for the Reds. His dad did. Jim Lefebvre. One-time major league manager.
He was a batting coach here, and a good one. He was here when Ken Griffey Jr. was here, and also when Aaron Boone was just coming up.
Here's Ryan Lefebvre, an outstanding young broadcaster. Old buddy Steve Physiok, former anchor at Channel 5 here in Cincinnati, handles the radio play-by-play with Hall of Famer Denny Matthews. Not sure what happened with Brandon there.
Couldn't get a grip.
So they get the lead running. One away here in the third inning.
Looks like DP Lane all the way. Could have been the throw was a little bit behind Brandon right there rather than leading him right in the middle of the chest. That's one of those ground balls when your pitcher's struggling a little bit. You giving up 2 runs in each of the first 2 innings. It's a ball you really want to have turned over.
4 runs, 7 hits for Kansas City. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Reds. In the air, left field. Utera retired, 2 away. The Reds are 8-12 all time against these Kansas City Royals. And of course, that includes the 2-game sweep loss at Kauffman Stadium back in May. In fact, the Royals have won 8 of the last 9 games played against the Reds. The pitcher Guthrie down, strike 1.
We were talking about Ned Yost, how he shifted the lineup up last night. The pitcher batted last in the 9th spot. Tonight he's batting in the 8th spot. Well, good work by Joe Luckup, our statistician up here, who said when he was managing the Brewers, Ned Yost had is he did it a lot where he would bat the pitcher in the 8th spot. Back to 2008, the first 50 games, he did it 24 times in the first 50 games. I don't remember Bobby Cox doing that.
No. Nope.
He's really one of the more relaxed managers if you watch his posture in the dugout. I mean, a lot of managers are standing on that top dugout or top step, fidgeting around. nervously talking.
Popped up and foul, a good thing. You know, it's been an amazing transformation, at least for those that were around Ned Yost last year. And Mike Swanson, who is the longtime media relations director, a long-time media relations director in Major League Baseball, and among the very, very best for a 30-year run. And by the way, happy birthday to Ned Yost, his 61st. Swung on and fouled back out of play. But, you know, we remember Ned Yost when he was a coach for Bobby Cox. He just went out and did his job every single day. Not many people would talk to him much, and that was fine with him. Then he became the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, and that Ned Yost was a pretty uptight Ned Yost, and was a guy who really did not want much to do with the media. He wasn't unfriendly. He just didn't go out of his way to be particularly friendly. And then Mike Swanson, who has been the media relations director the last number of years in Kansas City. You know, we were talking to him about it when we were in Kansas City. And there's a base hit by the pitcher Guthrie on a 3-2 pitch. No one loosening in the Reds bullpen, despite the fact that that's 8 base hits given up. And apparently there will be activity here momentarily as Jeff Pico is on the phone. But, you know, just to finish the thought on Yost, all of a sudden, Chris, last year, to the amazement of anybody that had ever been around him for any length of time, when the playoffs started last year, he's funny, he's outgoing. I mean, his press conferences were just, you couldn't believe it was Ned Yost. He was so relaxed. He was fun. And maybe he's always been all those things, and for the first time he just let everybody see it.
I think he's changed a little bit. I played with the Texas Rangers as a teammate of Ned Yost in 1985, and he was fun and all those things. And I think when he first got the managerial job, we've seen it happen so many times, that it really wears on a guy. He's being pulled from so many different directions and worried about every night, did the team win or not? I mean, if you don't win that night, you don't sleep. And I think Brian Price is going through this. And it's just kind of difficult to manage, you know, when you're being pulled by the front office. You've got 25 players to take care of. You've got coaches to worry about. You've got all the problems that go along with all those players. And you've got to win. And if you don't have a good team, it makes it tough.
Broken back by Dyson will end the inning. A scoreless inning for the first time tonight by Sampson. His team trails by a pair.
And over the Rhine, it's your chance to win great prizes and be a part of the energy of Cincinnati on game day. The party starts at 5 this Thursday at the Rhine House. I'm Jim Day, and Ned Yost, boys were talking about him being loose. Well, he had a little adventure involving an Apple Watch this season. He was wearing an Apple Watch in the dugout, and anyone that knows about an Apple Watch, it can sync up with your phone and do smartphone capabilities. Now, someone did a story on this, and then MLB stepped in and said, oh, no, you cannot wear that watch because you can't have any smartphones in the dugout to get information on. Well, Ned Yost turned around and told them it doesn't work as a smartphone unless it's synced up with your actual phone. So, in essence, when I wear it in the dugout, it's just a watch. Well, they turned around and recently told him, okay, that's right. And now Ned Yost is wearing that watch again. And the ironic part of this, MLB gave him the watch after being the manager in the All-Star game. So a little bit of a dilemma, and now the Apple Watch is back, but it's not synced to his phone.
How about that?
Yeah. Well, you know, he told me before the game, Jim Day, that the problem he has now, and it may be related to his birthday at 61 years old, it's not as easy to see the numbers on the watch as it used to be.
No kidding. Bourgeois draws the walk to open up the third inning. Reds are down 4-2. Votto and Phillips hit back-to-back home runs with 2 outs and none on in the first inning. And Votto now stands in the on-deck circle as Eugenio Suarez comes to the plate. Reds 5 times this season have gone back-to-back. 3 of the 5, Votto and Phillips. I beg your pardon, that's in their career. I beg your pardon. They did it in 2008 against the Cubs, 2009 against the Rockies, and a third time for Votto and Brandon tonight.
Boy, Billy Hatcher better put a rope on him. I mean, unless he's going to steal a base, you're down by a couple of runs.
Well, it's no secret that Guthrie, you better be very careful when you drift off the bag and taking your lead, especially at first base. Take a look at that.
Well, if you add Johnny Cueto to that equation, not necessarily pickoffs, but I mean, if you've got a good pickoff, you've already shortened up a lot of leads in that league. And Cueto, for our experience, has been the best in the business as a right-handed pitcher over the last few years in the National League, and Guthrie one of the best in the American League. Guthrie has given up 3 stolen bases. They have thrown out 5. He has picked off 4. Might not be a night where you run free.
And if you noticed, he is one of only 2 right-handers on that list. The others are left-handers, Beimel and Wade Miley, right there with him. Fifth name on that list was Jose Quintana. He is a left-hander for the Chicago White Sox. Fastball down and in. 3 balls and a strike on Suarez. Votto waiting. Clubbed his 22nd home run of the year. That came in the first inning. His only at bat tonight. Final now in from Pittsburgh. Pirates defeat the Diamondbacks for a second straight night. 4-1 the final there. Runner goes, and that ball is drilled into right center field. It will go all the way to the wall. And this will play Bourgeois all the way from first on a double by Eugenio Suarez.
Well, the ball sounds good coming off his bat. I mean, he just goes right downstairs to get it, stays behind it nicely, right on a sweet spot. just a good-looking swing.
Chris, I have a question for you. And it's a topic we didn't delve into last night. We know Cozart is out for the rest of the season, and we talked at length last night about how Brian Price has already gone on record, and of course he can change his mind, but he's already gone on record as saying, as far as he is concerned, Zach Cozart will be the starting shortstop come opening day next year. That's his job. If that indeed is true, that would mean Suarez, and I think we all agree, you love his future, you love his bat, you love the idea of having him in your lineup each and every day looking ahead to 2015 as Votto settles in and a big swing by Joey fouls it back. If that is the truth, we're assuming all of those things are equal, when do you start to find a different position for Suarez, and would you consider working him into whatever that position might be before this season is over? Well, I know it's not your call. I'm just throwing it out there to say, okay.
And I would follow up that by saying, well, other positions that you think he may be able to play would be somewhere on the corner outfield or third base, because second base right now is not going to be open. And third base really isn't open either.
Straight up in the air.
I mean, you have to create a vacancy.
Catch is made and tagging up. Here comes the throw to third. And safe just ahead of the throw is Suarez. So a productive out for Joey Votto as he gets a tying run within 90 feet of the plate.
To follow up on that talk about Suarez, I'm not so sure that you're going to bench somebody who's a starter right now in order to have Suarez experiment at that other position, because you still have to have somebody play shortstop. So right now he's your best option as shortstop, and hey, a lot of things can happen. This team is 24 games out of first place.
Well, that's why I bring it up.
But I mean, what I would say to that is that maybe some things need to be shaken up.
Brandon Phillips takes down low. Jim Day, did you want to chime in on this conversation?
Brian Price has been asked that very question, and they said, you know, barring anything unforeseen, if Brian Price is still the manager next year, and we're all here, Suarez is here, Cozart is here, that they will try Suarez in left field and see what he can do in spring training. Try to keep that bat in the lineup, perhaps in left.
That would make some sense.
And you know, this is a conversation that during the middle of the game it's very tough. You know, this is more along the lines of you're sitting around and talking for, you know, a long time, but then you get into the entire, you know, wide macro view of your ball club looking ahead to 2015. 2-1 to Phillips, tying run at third with one out, and you know, Marlon Byrd's name has to come up in that conversation because right now he's the everyday left fielder. We all know about the stipulation in his contract that if he reaches a certain number of plate appearances this year, an automatic salary, guaranteed salary, high salary would kick into gear next year.
I think the other part of that is that you're assuming that Devin Mesoraco can come back and be a regular catcher, and that has no problems going forward with whatever hip injury that he sustained this year, had surgery on it, comes back and he can be behind the plate because you've got him signed for 4 years.
Great point.
Because they did work him out in left field before he went and had his surgery.
2-2 the count on Brandon, and he started to laid off the high fastball, full count. Reds down a run. We're only in the bottom of the third inning after better than an hour and a half rain delay. You know, at the end of the day, through all this conversation, it just seems to me, Chris, and it's a point that you bring up, if you make the decision you want Marlon Byrd back here next year and you traded to get him here, and he's done a lot of good things here this year, if you want him back as your left fielder next year, then all the rest of this talk is nonsense. But if you've made the decision that you're probably going to try and go in a different direction, 3-2 pitch, fouled out of play. Why would you gamble with the idea that you show up for a month and a half in Arizona only to find out that whatever players you want to experiment with in left field, not one of them can play left field?
Well, I would suggest that most shortstops are probably the best athletes on the team, or among, and they could probably be converted to left fielders rather than the other way around.
This will not bring in the run on the pop-up by Phillips, and they're 2 away in the inning.
So I'm not so sure that for me it would be a given that Suarez could play left field without a doubt.
Okay.
Now, when you're shifting a catcher to left field, that's a different deal. When you're shifting an outfielder into the infield, that's a different deal as well. But I would have no problems at all thinking Suarez, if you needed him out there tonight, he could probably go out there and give you really good defense.
And this is the shortstop success the Reds have enjoyed this year. Zach was off to a great start. When you really felt good for him based on what happened last year. It has been an extremely productive position for the Reds this season after being among the very worst at any position among all teams in baseball last year. One and one on Jay Bruce. He lined out hard. To straightaway center field, his only time up. The Reds will fail to tie the game. Phillips and Bruce pop up. 4-3. The Reds get one back. Diamondbacks stick around after the game for a special on-field ceremony honoring Reds Hall of Famer Tony Perez. More than a dozen Big Red Machine members will be there, including Morgan, Bench, and Rose. Cap off the night with a great fireworks show presented by Cooper Tire. It's a Tony Perez weekend here at Great American Ballpark. Saturday they unveiled a new statue of Tony Perez in an on-field ceremony. And once more, all those, many of those members from the Big Red Machine will be on hand Saturday before the game as well. Saturday, a night game, 7:10 first pitch. And plenty of tickets are available. We invite you to come on down. Kiva Sampson has struggled mightily here tonight, but he's still out there, ball in hand, top of the 4th inning. He's allowed 4 runs and 8 hits. but his team has scored 3. Well, this guy Escobar, every time he swings a bat, he nearly falls over, and in that case, he did fall over.
I mean, he really doesn't swing the bat like you would think a leadoff hitter would swing. I mean, that swing has netted him 2 home runs on the year. But he's hitting .272.
He has a perfect night tonight. A walk, a run scored, a single, a run scored, and that went up underneath his chin. And I guess that got a piece of it.
No way.
Ball did not touch him. It certainly didn't look like it hit him. Or was that ball for in the at bat? The scoreboard may have been wrong up there. If so, then I beg your pardon. And it was the incorrect count up there on the board. So I beg your pardon. That's ball 4 to Escobar. Sorry about that. The count on Zobrist, and there's a strike. Zobrist an RBI double in the first inning. He doubled and scored in the second inning. Now, tonight, one of those nights where you find out a little bit about what a young man is made of. We talk frequently about, there's only so many times you go out there with your best stuff. Most of the time, really could go either way. Chris, you talked about this a lot, and clearly this is not Sampson's night.
Yeah, and best stuff doesn't always translate to mean speed on your fastball or snap on your breaking ball. It's more often than not the command of those pitches, and whether you're just getting them on the corner or just off the corner. Instead of strike 1, it's ball 1. But he doesn't see. I mean, this guy's got a lot of fight in him. Mm-hmm. You can really see it. And he's a competitor. He doesn't give in. He's thrown a lot of pitches. Coming up on 90 pitches here in the 4th inning. This is the kind of night that can just wear you out. But at the same time, he knows that every time he goes out there, he's pitching for his major league starting life. He doesn't know how long the leash is. And I don't think he's the kind of kid who's going to take it for granted that he can go out there and get knocked around a few times and expect to get another start. That doesn't normally happen when you have been picked up on waivers.
Two and two on Ben Zobrist. And it's pulled into right field, a base hit.
That guy's waving a magic bat.
Pair of doubles and now a single for Zobrist.
This guy's swing reminds me, and I'm dating myself, but a Wade Boggs approach. I mean, the way he had that base hit on the shortstop pole his last time up. He sees a hole on the right side this time. He pulls the ball.
The minutes on that phone are piling up. Once more, Pedro Villarreal getting loose in the bullpen. First pitch breaking ball to Lorenzo Cain is in there to strike. Villarreal he's pretty much ready. Second time he's been up. Cain is grounded to short and had a 2-run single to center field in the second inning. Look out.
Cain got hit last night in the first inning by Raisel Iglesias, but it was on a changeup right in the middle of the back. And he knows that both of those pitches, low and last line, and this one simply ones that have gotten away.
Bouncing ball to the right side, and they'll play to first. So Escobar on to third, Zobrist to second, one out in the inning. And a reminder, as you follow right along after an hour-and-a-half rain delay, we'll have our Miller Time moment later tonight, brought to you by Miller Lite. And that's going to do it for Kivas Sampson here tonight. Brian Price makes his way out of the dugout. First poor outing for this 24-year-old right-hander. He had made 3 straight very good starts, but tonight just not his night. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen will bring on Pedro Villarreal. We're back in a moment. In Major League Baseball, the top 2 out of the Show Me State of Missouri. But look at 3 of the top 4 reside in the National League Central Division. And of course, best overall record will not determine which team would have home field advantage in the postseason. That is determined by the winner of the All-Star game. And the American League, under Ned Yost, won it right here at Great American Ballpark. So the American League champion will have home field advantage in the Fall Classic. Pedro Villarreal takes over second and third, 1 out, and the Royals leading here in the 4th inning, 4-3.
This is the 4th season that Pedro Villarreal has been in the major leagues. He's been up and down for the most part in each and every one of the seasons, including this one. He's had far more games. He's got 21 games now. One start to his credit. That was a couple of years ago when he was 25 years old. Young man born and raised in Texas.
Two balls, no strikes on Eric Hosmer. Inning started with a walk to Escobar. A single by Zobrist. Both advanced on a ground out, and now after falling behind 2-0, they will go ahead and walk intentionally Hosmer and face a left-handed batting Moustakas. Well, right now, why not tweet your strongest fan photo? Use hashtag #OhioDataStrongFan. You might just see yourself during an upcoming telecast here on Fox Sports Ohio. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. All righty. Tough spot for Villarreal after the intentional pass. Moustakas has fouled out to third and singled to right. We'll never know if they had any intention of pitching to Hosmer during that at bat. Whether they were trying to get him to chase something the first couple of pitches, and after falling behind 2-0, they intentionally walked him. 1-1 on Moustakas. But with second and third and one out in the inning, if you were thinking about intentionally walking him, it is very rare you would see a pitcher taken out of the game and bring in the next guy to intentionally walk a batter. Two balls and a strike.
Yeah, normally they'll leave the pitcher in who's having a rough time, have him walk the batter, and then bring a new guy in so that the first 4 pitches he throws to the plate aren't at half speed.
Two and one on Moustakas. Bases loaded, 1 out. Broken back to even the count. Two balls, 2 strikes, bases loaded, 1 out. And it's fouled out of play. The count on Moustakas. Full count. I don't know, probably 100, 150 Royals fans in attendance here tonight, starting to make a little noise, and Reds fans don't like that much in their home ballpark. Well, when you win, they come out of the woodworks.
You're not kidding.
I mean, 2 years ago, it doesn't matter where they were playing. Some nights, including Kansas City, where you couldn't find that many Royals fans. Three and two. Bases loaded. Villarreal to the plate. Got him swinging for the second out of the inning. Well, that's a nasty pitch right there by Pedro.
Well, he may have chased ball 4, but the pitch had a lot of movement, and he loves the pitch down of the zone. We noticed that before, and that ball is down and out of the zone by a long shot. Just very aggressive. So nice job by Villarreal for getting 1 out closer to getting out of this inning and leaving those runners on base.
Here's Alex Rios, who is singled and bounced into a fielder's choice. 0-1. bouncing ball, and Villarreal gets the job done. How about that? Still a one-run game.
Dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer. Find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on U.S. News and World Report's Best Children's Hospital. One-run ball game here at GABP. I'm Jim Day. And guys, while we have a moment, I want to send our best wishes to Hall of Fame writer Hal McCoy, going through a bit of a medical scare right now. In fact, on his Facebook page today, he posted that he might in the next couple of days have to undergo some very delicate surgery. Hal, we're thinking about you. We send you our thoughts and prayers, and stay strong, my friend.
And we certainly echo those same wishes, thoughts, and prayers. One of the great guys that has ever had anything to do with the Reds organization. He's never had a check signed by the Cincinnati Reds, but he is very much a fabric of this entire organization and this entire region. Hal, get well soon, and we hope to see you very soon back here at the ballpark.
You're not kidding about that. I mean, Hal McCoy is the ultimate grinder.
No doubt about it.
Can you imagine doing what he has been doing for decades? Getting down to that clubhouse, ferreting out stories, interviewing hours and hours of interviews with people he probably doesn't even want to talk to sometimes, but still just trying to get something to write about, and every day coming up with something.
Todd Frazier draws a walk to begin the inning.
I toned it down a little bit in that at bat. He was wildly chasing just about everything that Guthrie threw up in the second inning when he struck out to lead the inning off.
One ball and 2 strikes on Tucker Barnhart. Reds have Ryan Matthews getting loose in the bullpen. And Barnhart is out of there swinging.
Guthrie is a young man that was a young man. He's 36, so by baseball standards he's getting a little bit long in the tooth, but he's been around a long time. 271 career starts for Guthrie tonight. Born in Roseburg, Oregon, raised in Oregon. Really kind of an interesting childhood. He was an Eagle Scout. He was a valedictorian of his high school class, ended up going down to Brigham Young for a year, and then decided to transfer from Brigham Young to Stanford. When he got to Stanford, he was the top pitcher on that baseball team that eventually got to the College World Series in 2001. Drafted by the Cleveland Indians, first round, 22nd pick overall.
And that one gets through the wickets. And that will move Frazier into scoring position. And of course, he carries a tying run out there at second base. It'll be a wild pitch.
Wild pitch, certainly, but a little bit of a sloppy glove work back there by Butera. I mean, he got everything down except his glove.
One and two now on Schumacher, who struck out his first time up.
So Guthrie, after he gets drafted by the Cleveland Indians, got a big bonus. Ended up with a $4 million signing bonus, contract for 4 years. And then he went up and down with the Indians a few times as a reliever, but never really stuck with them. So after his time was up, I mean, he became essentially a free agent 4 years later, 4 or 5 years later. They just released him, designated for assignment. Picked up by the Orioles off of waivers. Pitched there a few years, pitched pretty well actually for a couple of years with the Orioles. Then he was picked up by the Colorado Rockies. That's where the Reds probably remember him the most. And then traded to the Royals in exchange for a left-handed starter, Jonathan Sanchez. That was in 2012, and he's been pretty consistent with the Royals. Won 15 games his first year, 13 games his second year, and here he is in the third year of a 3-year deal.
Popped up short left field. 2 away in the inning, and staying put out at second base is Frazier. So Villarreal, we're only in the 4th inning. He's going to go ahead and bat. They had Brennan Bosch standing out there, and I know, Chris, you were impressed watching Bosch in batting practice today, now back up with a big league club.
He went down to the minor leagues and really turned it on. He's batting over 300. Hit some home runs. They had a couple of hits, I believe, in the last ball game in which he played. Guess Guthrie not afraid to throw to second base to pick him off also.
Pedro does have 1 career big league hit. It came last year. He only had 2 at-bats he pitched in a total of 12 games, but only had 2 at-bats and had 1 base hit. I believe that is a thunder we're hearing off in the distance, or maybe it's the Alice Cooper Motley Crue concert going on next door. That would have been a can't miss show for you, Chris Welsh. Were you not working tonight?
I've got to ask you
my nightmare. I got to be around Alice Cooper a number of times living out in Arizona. He's lived out there forever.
Big baseball fan.
Huge
right?
baseball fan. He opened a bar right next to Bank One Ballpark, now Chase Field, would have originally opened, named
Cooper's
Town.
Yeah. Was he allowed to do that?
He was allowed to do it. Avid golfer, big baseball fan. 0-2 pitch. Fastball away. You were grooving. I mean, and that was right up your alley. School's out.
Oh, yeah.
How about Motley Crue? Are you a big Motley Crue guy?
Not so much. I think Alice Cooper would have gotten the top rank.
Okay.
Between those two.
I'm with you. And Tapper right back to the mound. Reds fail to bring in Frazier from second base, and we go to the fifth. Still 4-3 Kansas City.
Perez arrive early and witness the unveiling of the legendary first baseman's bronze statue and special on-field pregame ceremonies. Plus, the first 30,000 fans in attendance will receive a replica Tony Perez statue presented by La Rosas. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/tickets. And we will be all over that event this weekend. Friday night, they'll have a Great 8 reunion post-game ceremony. You'll see it live on Reds Live postgame. And then Saturday, a special 1-hour edition of Reds Live pregame. You'll also see the on-field ceremonies in their entirety, and we were looking forward to it. And by the way, guys, I've had a lot of fans ask me, because they want to get in place for that unveiling ceremony, where that statue is going to be. It is going to be on Crosley Terrace. Joe Morgan out on the sidewalk is on the corner. Tony's statue is going to be closer to the Reds team shop, but along the lines of where Joe Morgan's statue is. So it's out there on Crosley Terrace for fans trying to make their plans.
Jim, I'm so glad you let everybody know that, because I've been asked that same question. I did not know the answer, and double checked on it before the game today, as obviously you did the same thing. So thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention. It's indescribable as Butera leads off the Kansas City fifth. Royals in front 4-3, and their strike one. The emotion that you see from these players when they put up a statue here at the ballpark. Joe Morgan was brought to tears and could barely speak. Same thing for Johnny Bench. I mean, however long this ballpark is here, and one day if they have to look into building a new ballpark somewhere, sometime way down the road, those statues will stay there, you'd like to think. And whether it's children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, your family members can come back, and they may never have seen you play, obviously, grandkids and great-grandkids and so forth, but man, that is quite an honor. Saw the number 24 there, retired, of course, in the history of franchise by the Reds, worn by the great Tony Perez. Joe Morgan's number 8 retired. The statue is here. Number 5, Johnny Bench, the same. Villarreal did a marvelous job in the last inning, coming on with 2nd and 3rd and only 1 out. He intentionally walked the first batter he faced to load him up with 1 away, then struck out Moustakas and got Rios on a bouncing ball to end the inning.
You know, we never finished up on the story about Drew Butera, born in Evansville, Indiana, and where that Triplets name came from, which was a AAA franchise. And boy, on Twitter, as soon as we had put it out there, Tom, it was all over. Joe Luckup looked it up, but it stands for the tri-state area, which is where Evansville is in. Southwestern Indiana, southeastern Illinois, and western Kentucky.
And they had a fan contest to name the team, and that was the winner.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that where Don Mattingly is from?
Mm-hmm. Three-two pitch in the air, right field. I would imagine Don Mattingly, we'll see him here next week. I would imagine he went to a few of the Triplets games.
Sure.
He's got to be about, what, 60? Maybe a little younger than that?
Probably a little younger.
Not much younger, but somewhere in that neighborhood. But he would have been in high school probably when that franchise started in 1970. Yeah, born in 61, so you're right, he's not even close to 60.
Ouch.
That was a pitcher, Guthrie, on that bouncing ball to Suarez. I'll tell you what, Guthrie not one of those pitchers that just half walks down to first. That guy's scooting up the line.
He's probably going for bragging rights. I mean, these American League pitchers don't get to hit very often, so when given the opportunity, why not grab a base knock and brag about it the rest of the year?
That's one of your pet peeves. Makes you crazy when those guys walk up there. I mean, you start throwing stuff around the booth.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
No, maybe that's a stretch.
Only if you're in my space.
Keep it right here. Jesse Jackson's highlighter. The line of demarcation here. 2 away. And Villarreal looking for a 1-2-3 top half of the 5th. We're only in the 5th because we had a rain delay of over an hour and a half before the start of it. Cardinals rally. They were down 3-2 in that game against the Giants, and they come back to win it late, scoring in the bottom of the 8th inning. 4-3 the final. Pirates won again tonight. 4-1 over Arizona. And the Cubs again getting kicked around by the Detroit Tigers. 9-5. Of course, the Tigers made big news a couple of weeks ago when they fired their longtime president of baseball operations and their general manager David Dombrowski. That one bunted and it rolls foul. Barnhart wisely just letting that one roll because he would have had no chance to throw out the speedy Dyson. But Dave Dombrowski today named the new president of baseball operations for the Boston Red Sox. Are you surprised by that, Chris Welsh?
No. I was surprised when you asked me that question when Dave Dombrowski was, I don't know if he was let go, whether they parted ways, but, and then the more I got to thinking about it, the more I thought, well, maybe there's something going on. Long-time general manager, vice president of baseball operations, and a good one. He's got a great track record. He brought Detroit baseball back and put them on the map. I mean, I don't think you get a job as a general manager just by sending out your very fine resume to 30 different ball clubs. It's kind of an insider's network. It did not take them long in Boston to grab Dombrowski.
Of course, Dombrowski is given full credit for one World Series title. That was with the 1997, then the Florida Marlins. He left before they won it again in 2003. Now, he made a lot of trades to break up that 97 club, which was the foundation, a big part of the foundation for the team that won it again over the Yankees in 2003. The Tigers did not win a World Series during his 14-year reign. Base hit into left field. But of course, for Dombrowski, when he took over in Detroit, it was a mess. And they have won 5 consecutive American League Central Division titles. That will come to an end this year.
Not a bad idea to throw over there and just try to shorten up that lead. Would not surprise me at all to see Dyson maybe steal a base right here and Escobar giving him a pitch with which to do it.
We are only in the top of the 5th inning. Teams have combined for 7 runs, 15 base hits, 11 runners left on. Ball 1 on Escobar. I guess it's official just moments ago. After being talked about most of the afternoon, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how much money you make. If the Dodgers have a chance to get you, they're going to get you. And Chase Utley is now a Los Angeles Dodger.
That wasn't it a day after Ruben Amaro said he'll probably stay with the team the rest of the year?
So really the only guy left from what was a really nice run, not a long run, but a solid run. They played in a couple of World Series. They won a World Series. They went to the playoffs 4 consecutive years. Ryan Howard is the last man standing in Philadelphia after trades this year of Cole Hamels and, as of tonight, Chase Utley. 2-1 pitch. Brandon will take care of that inning over. The Orioles really doing a nice job here tonight. Reds are still down a run. Top of the order coming up.
first game of a doubleheader where they play 7 innings. So basically this results in a complete game. 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, struck out 6. He has certainly been on fire as far as pitching goes. Not much time left in the minor league season, but I would think he has done about all he can do at High A Daytona, and will be setting his sights on Double A at least by next season.
Of course, he had a chance to pitch here in the Futures game, and that just, I'm surely increased his appetite, Chris, for a chance to make a regular home right here at Great American Ballpark.
Well, he got such a late start on pitching that's one reason why, at what I think 23 years of age, he's down in, and he just turned 23 in May. So he has not been pitching long at all. When you've got a 6'5" left-hander that throws hard like he does, you're going to make sure you bring him along at just the right pace.
And for those of you wondering why he got a late start, because he was a basketball player in college, and a good one.
Went to St. John's.
Reds down a run, top of the order, 3-1 on Bourgeois. And Bourgeois is on base for the 3rd straight time. Well, this guy's doing what a leadoff hitter's supposed to do. Now, he made the mistake of getting picked off back in that 1st inning, and that's a big play in this game.
It sure is.
A single, a walk, and a run scored, and now a 3rd time on base.
So a couple of batters after that pickoff, Votto hit a home run. This is the 3rd inning in a row in which Jeremy Guthrie has walked a leadoff hitter with a 1-run lead in this ballpark.
And a 2nd straight at bat where Suarez drills one. He had an RBI double his last time up, and now a single and 2 aboard for Joey Votto. One of the few relievers from either team that we did not see in the game last night. Getting loose now in the Kansas City bullpen, Luke Hochevar. And it's strike 1 to Joey Votto, who homered to center field in the 1st inning. Flied out to center his 2nd time up. Two and one. Votto takes strike 2. And that will even a count. 2 on, nobody out. Down a run are the Reds batting here in the 5th inning. Votto with a chance to tie it, if not give the Reds a lead. Joey has 59 runs batted in on the season. Well hit deep left field and caught, leaping up against the wall. What a nice play made by Jared Tyson. Well, he went up to get that one now.
Joey thought he may have had one right there. He waited on it. He hit it. He had good launch angle on it, and the ball just did not have enough on it to get out of here.
And a tip of the cap from Guthrie. Well, now Brian Price comes walking out of the dugout to talk with the home plate umpire, Chad Conley. Could they be wondering if this ball was trapped? Could they be wondering if there was interference on the base paths? I'm not quite sure.
We'll see if the ball hit the wall first.
Yeah. Boy.
It's been a difficult angle to catch a ball with your glove facing home plate if the ball hit the wall first.
So they'll take a look at this back in New York, where they will have multiple angles to try and take a look. Let's give you a different look. Here's one we haven't seen. We can back that up. I mean, even while he's in mid-flight, watch the wall to see if there's any contact. It looks like his glove. It looks like a catch. What do you think?
I think it looks like a catch too. We're going to find out.
And now there's a call. Jim Day.
When the ball hits the wall in left field, it has a very distinct sound, and everyone down here looked at each other and thought that that ball hit off the wall just by the sheer sound of it. It sounded like it hit the padding there, and I'm not sure it didn't still, but even Votto, I think, thought it hit the padding first just by the sheer sound of it, and I've heard a lot of balls hit off the left field wall in this ballpark from this vantage point.
It could have hit the back of the glove while it was against the wall and given off that same sound. Evidently that was the case. Just the angle of trying to catch a ball that comes off the wall with your glove open towards home. It's almost impossible to do, I guess.
All right, so 2-1, now 1 out, and here's Brandon Phillips. Brandon, a home run in the first inning. He had a chance to tie the game with a runner at third and only 1 out his next time up, and he popped up to the second baseman. So a second straight chance for Phillips to tie this game up after he tied the game at the bottom of the first inning on the back end of back-to-back home runs with Joey Votto. Two and one on Phillips. Inning started with a walk to Bourgeois. He advances into scoring position on a single by Suarez. 1 out later, it's Brandon Phillips. Count of 2-1. Take a look at this. Since Brandon Phillips broke in as a full-time player in 2006, coming over from Cleveland, he has more hits than any National League player. I think a lot of people might have lost that bet. 3-1. Now back out of play. It's our IGS bringing the energy. Of course, you look at some of the guys that are behind Brandon. Matt Holliday getting long in the tooth, likewise for Jimmy Rollins, but not to say there's not plenty of baseball left in all three of those guys, but far younger would be the duo 4th and 5th on that list in David Wright and Ryan Braun. Three balls, 2 strikes. Knocked down by Guthrie, and tries to feed the ball to second base. Not in time, and they're loaded. That'll be a hit for Brandon. And that's going to be all for Guthrie. O'Shaver was getting loose in the pen. Not sure if they got up the left-hander in enough time to come on and face Jay Bruce. He is the scheduled hitter. And it looks like it is O'Shaver who will come on with the bases loaded. Kansas City leading by a run, 1 out. We'll be back in a moment. They're trailing Kansas City 4-3. Jay Bruce coming up. Luke O'Shaver comes on from the bullpen, replacing Jeremy Guthrie.
He's been up for a while, O'Shaver has, and that's why you're not seeing a lefty specialist in the ball game right now. Now 31 years old. It seems like he's been around forever. O'Shaver, former #1 draft pick by the Royals in 2006, exactly 1 year after Jay Bruce was taken in the first round by the Reds.
So here we go, bases loaded and 1 away, and it's off the inside corner, ball 1. Swing and a miss. Pretty good success by the left-handers against this one-time, long-time starter who did not pitch at all last season out with an injury.
Well, he had the Tommy John surgery. We talked about all the pitchers on this pitching staff that seem to have been at one time or another beset by TJ surgery. Chris Medlin twice, Brian Madsen while he was a member of the Reds, and Hochevar comes in after missing entire the year last year, but came back and signed a 2-year deal in the offseason.
Popped up and out of play, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. You know, it just never worked out for Hochevar as a starter. I mean, really just never pitched well. The closest thing to a decent year he had was in 2011. He won 11, lost 11, ERA up over 4.5. But every other year as a starter, the ERAs of 4.8, 5.5, 6.5, lost 13 games. Then when they moved him to the bullpen in 2013, he found his niche. 70 innings, 41 hits. 2-2 pitch to Jay Bruce. And we'll do it again. And all that before the injury, which sidelined him, as we mentioned, all of 2014.
I've got to get at least one of these runs in here.
Bases loaded, 1 out. The 2-2 on Jay Bruce again. Didn't miss by much.
That's one of his favorite pitches, a cutter for Hochevar. Started it just a little bit too inside for Bruce to try to chase it.
Three-two pitch. And again, the Reds cannot get the run in. Infield fly rule in effect here. And the runner trying to advance at his own risk, and he is out. The second time tonight that Jason Bourgeois has made a base running mistake. Runners can advance at their peril, at their risk. And out is Bourgeois to end the inning. When's the last time you saw that in a major league game? Two batters in. It was 1-0 Kansas City on the double by Zobrist. And then Zobrist would score on a single by Hosmer. Reds had back-to-back home runs by Joey Votto, number 22, Brandon Phillips, number 9, to tie the game at the end of 1. Lorenzo Cain, a 2-out, 2-run single into center field, putting Kansas City back in front 4-2. Eugenio Suarez on a hit and run with Jason Bourgeois. A double to make it 4-3. Reds missed a golden chance to tie the game in that 3rd inning, and then unbelievably in the 5th inning, what we just saw, I cannot remember ever seeing. Or if it happened, I'm just not remembering it in a major league game.
I'm with you. I don't think I've seen it either. And that is having on an infield fly rule one of the runners evidently not knowing what an infield fly is. Here's what happens. Ball is in the infield. Bases loaded, less than 2 outs. Umpires will, when the ball gets to the top of its peak, will call infield fly. Now, no one comes in to field it because everybody knows it's an infield fly except Jason Bourgeois, third base. And if you're at home and if you're coaching or if you're a young player still up at this hour, when you're on base and there's an infield fly, go back to the base and stand there.
And based on where he was when he was tagged out, you know, you can't come back and say, I thought there were 2 outs in the inning, because if you thought 2 outs were in the inning, as long as that ball was in the air, you would have tapped home plate about 5 minutes prior to it landing on the ground.
Well, you see something new every night at the ballpark.
And by no means making any excuses for Jason Bourgeois, because there is no excuse for that base running blunder. It should also be mentioned that the Reds have had two of their best players over a long time have a runner standing at third with 1 out in an inning, and they can't get the ball out of the infield. Happened with Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce in the 3rd inning, and happens with Bruce here in the 5th. And this guy's a hitting machine. A 4-hit night, and we are only in the 6th inning for Ben Zobrist. Double, single.
I mean, it's not like he's knocking the stitches off the baseball either. I mean, he has found a hole the last couple of times up on the right side. He found a hole on the left side with a pretty good line drive base hit. The double right down the right field line, right over the bag. That was the one the Reds contested, whether it was fair or foul, back in the 1st inning. Hit it hard, but it was still a hard hit ground ball. Hey, you have nights like that.
It's the 8th career 4-hit game for Zobrist. Kane spun out of the way high and tight. He has a base hit in 3 at-bats. A 2-run single back in the Kansas City 2nd inning. We brought up last night the Royals had the fewest number of home runs among all American League teams a season ago. That holds true again so far this year. And tonight you're getting an example of, you know, when you don't hit the home run, and clearly that's not been a major factor in many games the Royals have played this year, because when you look at their record, it's the best in the American League. It is the 2nd best in all of Major League Baseball. But we are 1 batter into the 6th inning. The Royals have 11 hits, and they only have 4 runs. And we were in Kansas City earlier this year. That place is a very big ballpark. Strike 3 on Kane, 1 away.
Meanwhile, Pedro Villarreal just keeps on plunking right along right there. He came in a very tough circumstance in the 4th inning, had to give up an intentional walk to load the bases, and they got the next 2 batters out to get out of the inning and strand a couple of runners out there that would have gone on the record of Kiva Sampson. Gave up 1 hit in the 5th, And that was a nice pitch to strike out Lorenzo Cain.
You know, we've said it many, many times, and for whatever reason, when guys end up on that shuttle, and it doesn't matter what organization you're pitching for, when you're that guy, and in Villarreal's case, it's up and down, up and down, up and down. From Cincinnati to Louisville, as Hosmer went around. But when you look at every player on this Reds team, whether it's position player or pitcher, for the job they have asked him to do, Villarreal has done his job very, very well this season. He's got an ERA at 3.2. He comes into games that can vary from getting blown out, you're blowing somebody else out, or in a case like tonight, Sampson only lasts a total of 3 1/3 innings. You're walking in the door second and third with 1 out in a 1-run game. He gets out of that inning, puts together a scoreless inning the next frame, and here he is trying to make it another.
Well, welcome to the life of a long man.
That's right.
A lot of people are thinking, well, why wouldn't you give him a start if he's doing so well, right? And the answer to that is he might be the only guy in this ball club that can do what he's doing as well as he's doing.
That's right. But I mean, you know, I mean, I wish I had a dollar for every time somebody said, "Oh, well, what's Villarreal doing here? Why don't you go get some young guy and bring him up?" Well, it's not like Villarreal, some old guy. And again, for what they have asked him to do, yeah, he's had a bad game here or there. But find me one guy on this pitching staff outside of Aroldis Chapman that hasn't had a bad game here or there. I mean, Chapman has had 2 bad games. That's it. On swinging is Hosmer. And Villarreal now picks up his 3rd strikeout.
Well, Hosmer was a batter that they intentionally walked last time to load the bases. They got 2-0 count on him and decided they didn't want to pitch to him. And that little, I guess that's just a 2-seam fastball, right? That's our little cutter. Little cut fastball. You can see it kind of spin like a spin of a spiraling football.
Off the end of the bat, shallow center field. Bourgeois, good jump and makes a nice running catch, and another excellent inning by Pedro Villarreal. He's kept this a 1-run game. face off in elite featherweight destroyer Max Holloway. And then, well, I tell you what, that Neil Magny, I know you're dialed into the UFC fight nights, Chris.
What night is that?
And it's coming up on Sunday.
Sunday night.
6:30 Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
We'll be T-bowing it if I can't get it live.
Big league.
I don't think they call it T-bowing anymore. DVR, I think, is what.
Well, people know what you're talking about.
Well, there's a no T-bow button on the remote. It's a DVR button.
All right, Hoshaver to face Todd Frazier. Reds are down a run as they bat here in the last of the 6th inning. Reds 3 runs on 7 hits. They've left 5. Royals 4 runs, 11 hits. Royals have stranded 10. 3-1 to Todd Frazier. Guthrie cannot get the win tonight. He lasts only 4 1/3 innings. Gives up the 7 hits and the 3 runs. Walked 3 batters and 4. Straight up and out of play by Frazier. One away in the inning, and as promised earlier in the game, we have selected a Data Strong Fan photo of the night. And you can tweet yours to Ohio Data Strong Fan. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. How about that? Kathy, now that's a strong fan photo. Tucker Barnhart looks at a breaking ball in there, a strike. It's 0-2.
Kind of an interesting story, really, the way the Kansas City Royals ended up getting Luke Hoshaver. Drafted twice by the Los Angeles Dodgers, once in the 1st round. And he had Scott Boras as his agent. So they had long and tedious negotiations, as first rounders oftentimes do. And then in the middle of the negotiations, he decided to drop Boras as an agent and picked up another agency. And then agreed to a deal with the Dodgers. But the next day he changed his mind. Went back to Scott Boras, reneged on the deal that he had verbally with the Dodgers, and ended up not signing and pitching in independent league baseball. This was after they drafted him out of the University of Tennessee. So he entered back into the draft the next year, and that's when the Kansas City Royals picked him. The first player picked overall in 2006.
Strike 3 called on Tucker Barnhart. 2 away in the inning.
Little slider down and in. Tucker still shaking his head as he walks off. He thinks that pitch was low, and our Fox Tracks has it right at the bottom of the zone.
We'll get to hear Schumacher's walk-up music very much. It's a little Luke Bryan. That's a big league song. Doesn't get a lot of playing time. Oh, and 2. Back-to-back strikeouts in the inning. We're off to the 7th. Still Kansas City 4 and the Reds 3.
ABP. Thanks to Reach Savings Magazine, you can catch the action and save with the 4 for $48 ticket offer. For only $48, you can get 4 view-level tickets plus 4 exclusive Reds hats. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/4 for 48. New pitcher on the hill for Cincinnati is a familiar face, that being Sam LeCure, making his way back to the big club. Brian Price said it was one of the toughest decisions he's ever had to make to keep him off of the big club coming out of spring training. Went down to Louisville, got off to a really rough start. Talked to Sam today, obviously happy to be back. He said because his velocity was down, and that's one of the reasons he said that he didn't make the big club. He went down to AAA Louisville and really just tried to throw as hard as he could to get his velocity up. And he said, I was trying to be a pitcher that I am not. And he got out of whack mechanically. Of late, he said he got back to just doing what he does. He thinks he can get guys out, not pitching at 90 miles per hour. He feels like himself again, and he's back. And I tell you what, in the clubhouse today, it was just a line to get to this guy. I haven't seen so many guys so happy to see him back.
Well, you know, you talk about Jim, what he has done lately, his last 6 outings for Louisville. And look, he was having a terrible year. But all of a sudden, that increased velocity, his last 6 appearances spanned 10 innings. He only allowed 3 hits and 1 run, did not walk a batter, struck out 6. And so it sure would be nice if Sam LeCure can come back here to the big leagues, start getting people out again. There's strike 1 to Alex Rios. He made 231 appearances for the Reds after coming up in 2010, running through last year. It's the 3rd most by a Reds pitcher, trailing only Logan Ondrusek and Aroldis Chapman. And he'll retire. The first batter he faces, a new second baseman, is Ivan De Jesus, and he throws out Rios. Welcome back, Sam LeCure. You know, we talked about how good LeCure was in 10, 11, 12, 13. And then, Chris, as you talked about, that drop in velocity, those numbers aren't terrible, but they're not what they were the prior year.
Well, the numbers also, if you just look at the number of games and appearances that he's had, there are also a lot of innings warmed up for Sam LeCure in which he did not get into a ball game. That's a lot of usage. That'll take a toll on your arm. A lot of guys that, you go to 2 or 3 years in a row of where you're in a ball game 60 or more games, and you're simply worn out. And if you're not worn out, your arm is, or your elbow is.
There is no doubt that LeCure has to be a little on the nervous side here tonight. I mean, it's his first big league game he's pitched this season. And, you can pitch in nearly 300 baseball games, as is the case with LeCure. But when you're sent back down to the minor leagues and you're humbled, and he's not the kind of guy that needed humbling. I'm not suggesting that, but your confidence starts to wane. You wonder, will I ever get the chance? And he openly admitted the way he was pitching for most of this season at Louisville, he wondered, would he get another chance?
Well, I'm sure that he sat down in Louisville and he watched his pitching staff through the month of April, the month after he was sent down out of spring training. And he saw the struggles that the bullpen had. I mean, they struggled, and some of them were shipped out. Guys that were so bad that the Reds didn't want them anymore. And he said he's probably thinking, I lost my job to these guys? Who's making the decisions up there in Cincinnati? But you can't think about that when you're down in the minor leagues. You got to think about yourself and what you've got to do to get back up there. And the bottom line is getting hitters out.
How about that? Breaking ball for strike 3 takes care of Butera, 2 away in the inning.
That's a classic. We remember that one an awful lot. Big old roundhouse curveball, great arm action right there. Little spiked curveball grip where he digs his index finger into the seam and pulls down with his middle finger. That'll lock you up.
Orlando comes on to bat for Hoshaver, who goes an inning and 2/3 of perfect baseball with a couple of strikeouts. Ryan Matson is ready in the bullpen. Fly ball will end the inning. Welcome back, Sam LeCure. There are a lot of guys in that dugout waiting to meet him, excited that he is back. Well, we had all the scoring in this game in the first 3 innings officially. All but 1 run scored in the first inning and a half. And relief pitching by both teams has simply been outstanding. Hoshaver getting out of a bases loaded jam on a base running error by Jason Bourgeois. Villarreal and LeCure have combined for 3 2/3 innings of shutout baseball. And now the guy, Chris, that I made reference to earlier, who you were paying a lot of attention to during batting practice tonight, and that's Brennan Bosch.
Well, let's hope that Brennan gets a little more playing time than he did the first time he was up here. He seemed to have come out of spring training swinging a really hot bat. In fact, he forced himself on the roster by having such a good spring. But when the opening day came around, I mean, he barely was able to see the light of day as far as getting any playing time. So whatever momentum you build up, whatever eye you're able to hone down, you lose it when you're sitting on the bench. So Bosch has been swinging the bat fairly well down there, hitting over 300, up actually around 330. And he faces the former Red Ryan Madson. Said Ryan Madson, former Red in spring training.
And even then, he never threw a pitch, did he? He never pitched in a game. I thought he got hurt warming up before the game started.
Yeah, he may have. And that didn't take long for Bosch.
Well, Madsen has certainly found a home, healthy once again. And here's Jason Bourgeois. The good, the bad, and the ugly tonight for Bourgeois. The good, single, walk, walk. He's reached base all 3 plate appearances. The bad, picked off first base in the first inning. An inning where the Reds after that would hit 2 home runs. The ugly, the bases loaded pop up as a base runner at third. Infield fly rule on a pop up in front of the plate. Bourgeois took off for the plate and was thrown out. That was a double play which ended the Reds' 5th inning.
If you miss it in the 5th inning, 1 out, bases loaded, Jay Bruce pops it up. Infield fly is called. Nobody there to catch it, though. And that's when Bourgeois thought that he would score. Now, you are able, at your own risk, to try to advance as a runner. But I just think he got confused about the rules. That's a nice play by Eric Hosmer at first base.
Well, we talked about earlier, this is a really good defensive Kansas City team. Here's a Red who's had a good night at the plate tonight. That would be Eugenio Suarez. He flied out to center in the first inning. An RBI double to the gap in right center in the third. Was stranded at third. And then singled into center field his last time up. Fastball taking a strike. 0-2 to Suarez. Boy, the Tigers are just blasting off on the Cubs. It is 15-7 Detroit, still batting in the 9th inning. Last time I checked, and that was a while ago, when it was 10-7, there were 7 home runs hit in that game. And I guarantee you there's more than that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, including 2 by Nick Castellanos. One of those a grand slam for the Tigers. The Cubs have hit 3. Reds gone and on it. They trail by a run.
Reds Live, the pregame edition. First look at the lineups, interviews, features, and so much more. Everything you need to get ready for that day's game. It's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And tomorrow night, Reds Live pregame will hit the air at 6:30. The game to follow with this pitching matchup. The Arizona Diamondbacks come to town first of 4. It'll be lefty versus lefty. Patrick Corbin will go for Arizona, and John Lamb will make his second big league start after his start in Dodger Stadium. And we're looking forward to seeing what he's got second time around. Those nerves shouldn't be as jumpy tomorrow night.
All righty, Jim Day, thank you very much. Sam LeCure back out there for a second inning. He worked a perfect 7th. Here we are in the 8th, and the Reds only down a run. We're talking about the Cub game tonight. Kyle Schwarber has not yet played in 50 games this year. That's a young man from Middletown High School, #1 pick out of Indiana University. He has 10 home runs. He has 31 runs batted in on 37 hits.
Wow. Efficient.
The starter tonight for the Cubs, John Lester. 2 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 7 earned runs against the Detroit Tigers. And Miguel Cabrera back now. 3 hits tonight and 5 at bats. Cabrera is hitting .354. Wow. One and 2 on Jared Dyson. I want to say hello to our buddy Big Reds fan, although he grew up in New York. Big Reds fan watching down in Orlando, Florida tonight. Tom Barber, you've met Tom before.
Sure have.
Big Reds fan, and he was very excited a moment ago, sending us an email up here to the booth, and he was excited to see Brennan Bosch back with a major league club. There's a Tampa Foul, first base side, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
He's a good baseball man, Tom.
Real good baseball man. Worked for many years running all the graphics as part of the Tampa Bay Rays. Then they were the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. There's a ground ball to the right side, and the Piers retired the first 4. And he's had a lot of success as a coach down that way. Youth coach.
Got a son playing college baseball, I believe.
At Nova, isn't that what it is?
I believe so.
Yes, Tommy. Fastball, strike 1. Escobar's been on base 3 times tonight. 2 walks, a single, and a run scored. 2 runs scored. You said it earlier, Chris, regarding Sam LeCure. And he talked about it as he's retired. Is that an out? That's an out. It's fair ball. Escobar never left the batter's box, and jumping all over it is Tucker Barnard to pick it up and tag him out. And Escobar has words.
Well, unless Escobar thought that ball knocked off of him in the batter's box. And I don't believe it did. I think it just hit the ground. If it went off the player, it's a foul ball. Nope. Nothing but the plate. When you're running a team like the Reds versus running a team like the Kansas City Royals, really one of the biggest things on the mind of the Royals manager is when they're getting into their next city. And even had this game started on time, which was 7:10, then they play a normal game, say a 3-hour game. They were due to be in Boston, which is where they're going for the weekend, at 2:30 in the morning. And then Yost was kind of bemoaning to me before the ball game, saying, what about this rain that's coming? How long are we going to wait around here? I guess we'll wait as long as it takes, because there are no more off days that we can come back here and make this game up. So, of course, if you're a Reds fan, you're used to late night baseball. The Reds just came off a 9 or 10 game road trip through the West Coast. So all those games at night were starting late anyway. So we've got you conditioned. Last night game ended about 12:30 or so, right?
And we're on pace for that right now. 2-1 pitch. Not out of play, but Chris, finish that thought about LeCure. The radar gun, he probably should not even turn around to look at it, because it consumed him after that's what the Reds told him at the end of spring training. So forget about it. And as you pointed out, all that matters is, did you get him out?
Yeah. I mean, I don't ask Mark Burley what his radar gun readings are.
No.
I mean, and it's a safer bet when a guy throws hard. You got to go out on a limb sometimes.
Boy, that is great to see. 6 up, 6 down for Sam LeCure.
that right arm a little bit. He was actually working it out the rest of the half inning. Reds have just announced that it is a inflammation in his right biceps tendon is the reason that he came out of this game. So Hamilton diving after a ball last night goes on the DL. Now Phillips leaves this game with a tender arm.
Well, that's not good news. Ryan Madson works one perfect inning with a couple of strikeouts, and we saw Kelvin Herrera in the game last night. This guy throws hard. You pointed out, Chris, his average fastball has been clocked average at 99 miles per hour.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that, Tom, and we just showed you really briefly, you have to look at those boxes quickly, but I'll wrap it up for you. 99 miles an hour average fastball, but he doesn't even strike out one batter per inning. So what it tells me is that if you throw 99 and it appears like you throw 99, eventually big league hitters will be on you. If you throw 99 and it appears you only throw 95, that's when you've got something. Or in the case of Orioles, you're throwing 103, it doesn't matter. Usually.
Gone swinging Votto on a 98-mile-per-hour fastball.
Now, we haven't seen too many flamethrower fastballs tonight, but Herrera makes our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce, at 98 and gets a strikeout from Votto. Speaking of flamethrowers, Ben Zobrist did it last night. The only other hitter this year to hit a home run off of Aroldis Chapman is Maikel Franco from the Philadelphia Phillies. He unfortunately is on the disabled list, was hit, and I think he broke his wrist.
That's a good looking young hitter.
Yes, I'll tell you, was he hot?
Oh, man.
The Reds went through Philadelphia. Man.
They don't have a lot to be excited about this season in Philadelphia. I mean, it's been just a nightmare.
Yeah.
Devontae Jesus Jr. bats for the first time. The Reds all of a sudden have gone now now into their third straight inning without a base hit. This is what we saw in the game, you may remember, last night when the Reds got a single by Brandon Phillips in the 6th inning. They would not collect another hit until the 12th inning in the game last night.
Kind of weird because this has a feel. Maybe it's a late time at night, coming up on midnight, but it feels like an extra inning game. And oftentimes in an extra inning game, the offense goes to sleep, about the 11th inning, and somebody wakes up, in the 13th or 14th, and that's when a decision is made.
Two and two on Devontae Jesus Jr. And now full count. Jay Bruce next. Well, he had a good rip at that pitch, a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, and fouled it straight back. Kansas City 4, the Reds 3. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning at Great American Ballpark. Kansas City 2 in the first, the Reds 2 in the first. Kansas City 2 in the second. Reds got 1 back in the third. That's a 1-out walk, and DeJesus a tying run aboard in the 8th. Perhaps no one in the ballpark would prefer to give the Reds the lead than Jay Bruce. You saw his frustration when batting with the bases loaded in the 5th inning when he popped it up. He fired his bat down into the ground in frustration. And he pops up the first pitch here. 2 away. Well, sooner or later, Frazier's going to snap out of this slump. So if you're going to do it, why not do it here in the bottom of the 8th inning? With the man aboard and your team down a run. I mean, you can see this slump really weighing Frazier down. There's a base hit into center field. And DeJesus on to second base. Todd's first hit tonight. He's been on base twice.
Really a good matchup for Frazier, who's a good fastball hitter. And when you're facing Herrera, I mean, you've got about a 90% chance of getting a fastball on the first pitch. And even though that one's 99 miles an hour, he's dropping a head right on it.
Short hop pickup by Zobrist, and the inning is over. We go to the 9th. Royals in front, 4-3. League game. He faced 6 batters, retired all 6. That is so nice to see. And you start to see all the players coming down at the far end of the dugout. where he received high fives from everybody on that bench.
I bet he was a treat to have down on that AAA team. I mean, it probably doesn't sound good to Sam LeCure, but I mean, AAA can be a very difficult level to manage. You talk to those managers who've done it for a long time, and they'll tell you it is the most difficult to manage, because you're managing the front office above you who wants certain guys played and so on. You're getting disgruntled ball players who are being sent down from the minor leagues who think that they got the short end by being sent down there, and it should have been somebody else other than them, so they come down with a chip on their shoulder. You've got prospects on the way up that you need to take very good care of, kid glove care of our number one guy. Don't let him get hurt. Make sure he doesn't get his ego bruised. Make sure you babysit him and make sure he doesn't get in trouble. And you got all those things going on. You don't really have any extra help that the AA guy doesn't have. And then you probably get a guy like Sam LeCure, who is almost like having another coach who, is a big brother to some of these young guys coming up and is an example of how you handle yourself as a professional player.
The guy that did that so well for so long for the Reds was Rick Sweet.
Yeah. He sure did.
Where is he now?
I believe he's in the Milwaukee organization.
Of course, the Reds have gone on the younger side this year as far as a young up-and-comer, a guy who would like to be a major league manager one day, former major league player Delino DeShields, after Jim Riggleman was the Louisville manager prior to DeShields. And now Riggleman part of the major league staff as Jumbo Diaz takes over and faces Lorenzo Cain. Jumbo, since coming back up from being demoted to Louisville, has thrown the ball unbelievably well. In his 15 outings, his ERA is 0.5. He's worked 15 and a third innings, allowed 11 hits, struck out 19 batters in those 15+ innings, and given up just the 1 run. Of course, Diaz, they were really counting on this young man when the season began, and whether it was Diaz or whether it was Kevin Gregg or a host of others down there in the bullpen. April was just a disaster. It didn't get much better in May. Broken bat, 1 out. And Diaz has just overwhelmed opponents since coming back up. And that was the plan, Chris, all along, is to get him right and get him back up here.
Right. And the main thing for Jumbo was to go down there, throw strikes, so that when you come back here, you throw strikes. Really interesting to have a conversation with George Culver, former Reds pitcher back in the late 60s. In fact, he threw a no-hitter for the Reds in 1968, George Culver did. But he was the Dodger coach who had Jumbo Diaz in the Gulf Coast League. And he also had another Jose Diaz, and he was the one who gave Jumbo the name Jumbo. That was a funny story. Jumbo told me he was so excited to see him there because he had a profound effect on him. And George told me that when Jumbo was first coming up, I mean, he was so big that he couldn't run. I mean, to stay in shape as other pitchers. He couldn't cover first base. He couldn't bunt. He couldn't do anything except pitch. He had an arm just like what you're seeing here, but he couldn't control it. And a lot of work, a lot of years later, here he is in the major leagues.
That's a decade-long worth waiting.
Yeah.
You know, we use terms like that of a guy being in the minor leagues 10 years. I mean, for everybody at home, you know, it's like a throwaway line. But when you think of, you know, where were you 10 years ago today? You know, maybe you were single, living in a different place. Now you're married for 9 years and you have 3 or 4 kids. 10 years is a long time.
Well, when you're in the minor leagues, your slumps aren't minor to you. Your losses aren't minor to you. Your injuries are certainly not minor to you. So it may be, for us, you're watching Big League Baseball. Well, he got hurt, he's down in Double-A. But when it's happening to you,
this one will stay in the yard. Bourgeois covers a lot of territory. 2 away in the inning.
and you know, you normally associate minor league baseball with long bus rides and paltry daily meal money. And those are true, but that's just part of it. I mean, you know, you're seeing teammates and roommates being released. Usually when you're in the major leagues, guys don't get released, they just get sent out. You may get DFA, designated for assignment. Somebody else picks you up oftentimes. But when you're in Double-A or an A-ball, when there's a player moving down, it's usually a pink slip. All for following that dream.
Pitch in the dirt. Barnhart recovers quickly. Good throw, and they got him. Nice play by Tucker Barnhart. All right, here we go. Reds down a run.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may
Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Don't forget, it's an unforgettable day at the ballpark this Saturday. The Reds will honor Hall of Famer Tony Perez, arrive early, and witness the unveiling of the bronze statue of the legendary Reds first baseman. That'll be on-field pregame ceremonies. Plus, the first 30,000 fans in attendance receive a replica Tony Perez statue presented by La Rosas. Come on down to the ballpark. Diamondbacks in town. Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon. Wade Davis on to try and nail it down. For Marlon Byrd, he comes off the bench, and this is his 1,500th career appearance. Davis, the numbers are sick. Better than a strikeout per inning, only 13 walks. ERA fractionally above 1. Bird coming off a very rough night where he went 0 for 5 and struck out 4 times in the series opener. Reds are down a run, 1 swing away from tying his baby up. Shattered bat on a dribbler to second base, 1 away. Well, certainly the man in the driver's seat since they picked him up, along with Johnny Cueto. Those were the 2 guys they wanted. Ben Zobrist very much in the driver's seat, brought to you by Kia. His 8th career 4-hit game. Of course, he had the game-tying home run in the top of the 9th inning last night against Aroldis Chapman. Good player. Real good. Not a great player, but the kind of player that if you were to take a poll of major league managers, as Bosch dumps one into left field, and he has a 1-out single. That was a broken bat, but he was able to muscle it into left field.
Tough to defend.
All right, here's Jason Bourgeois. Well, I brought up earlier about Jay Bruce. If there's one guy on his team that, based on a couple of prior at-bats in this game, that would love to hit a home run or get a base hit to win this one tonight for the Reds. If Bruce is near the top of that list, at the very top of that list is the man at the batter's box right now, and that is Bourgeois.
No doubt about that.
He's been on base 3 times, but he was picked off in the first inning. And as that inning played out, the Reds hit 2 home runs after he was picked off. And then he had the base running blunder on the infield fly rule, tagged out at home. Popped up into right, and the Reds are down to their final out of the night. But they've got a big bat coming up there in Eugenio Suarez.
Suarez already has a double tonight, and this is one of those cases where if you're Brennan Bosch at first base, you want to make sure you get a good secondary lead. Not so much you're going to get picked off, but if Suarez finds a gap, they're going to want to score you.
Well, he took a hearty rip right there and fouls it back. The pitchers of record, O'Shaver and Sampson. Reds an out away from slipping to 16 games under 500. Breaking ball is low. Ball outside. 2-1 on Suarez, who has 2 hits in a game tonight. An RBI double and a single. Davis stands tall on the mound. A glance over his shoulder, and now the 2-1 on Suarez. Ball 3. Joey Votto waits in the on-deck circle. Suarez looking fastball here and figures to get one, knowing who's on deck. 3-1 count. And here it comes. Well, it's the second night in a row in a hitter's count that Suarez last night took a strike, and tonight just couldn't pull the trigger.
Wow, look at the grouping of pitches down the left-hand side. I mean, they're going down and away to Suarez. Maybe he was looking for fastball on the inner part of the plate and knew he had to pull the trigger quick. That last one at 97.
And Suarez play the hero, or at least set the table for Votto. 3-2. Grounded foul. Where's Bosch now getting that running start over at first base on a 3-2 pitch. This is one of only 2 games left still being played. The other one all the way out in Anaheim, California, and they're in the 7th inning. Here we're in the bottom of the 9th. Three and 2 once more on Suarez. And a pitch. Foul back out of play. That one at 98 miles per hour. Very late baseball tonight and last night in this very brief 2-game series. Suarez looking to run into one here and send him home. 3-2. Ball 4, and Votto will bat. It's a good at bat by Suarez.
Really good at bat. He's giving you good at bats nearly every time up there. He's been on base 3 times now, even though Wade Davis and Drew Butera both probably think that ball is a strike. Our Fox track shows it to be right at the top of the strike zone.
Tell you what I like there after that at bat. As soon as he flipped the bat away, he turned around and looked at the on-deck circle and was cheering on Votto, as if to say, come on, let's win this thing. You don't see a lot of young guys doing that. All right, this is a guy you want up there. Been the hottest hitter in Major League Baseball since the All-Star game. That fastball in on his hands. Strike 1. Tying run at second base. That's Brennan Bosch. And the winning run is Suarez at first. Joey Votto 1 for 4. Homered back in the first inning. See, Votto choked up a good 3-4 inches off the end of that bat against a hard-throwing Davis. Ball gets away, but the runners stay put. And now Votto going to try and make his way out of an 0-2 hole.
Coming right after Joey inside with heat.
Nothing in 2 to Votto. Try to get him a chase out of the zone. Joey not going to do that.
This is about as much as we have ever seen Joey Votto choke up on a bat. I mean, he chokes up often.
2. Did he go? No. No chance. Mark Carlson was going to ring him up there. Not to end the game.
I don't think he did. Good call.
Votto grinded. Fell behind 0-2. Now at 2-2. Tying run at second, winning run at first. 2 outs, last of the 9th. Ball 3. Well, I tell you, you're a pitcher. Votto just will never let you off the hook. You might get him out. But I mean, 9 out of 10 times in this league, you got a guy 0-2. He is done. Now it's 3-2 to Votto. Game over. 96 miles per hour under the hands of Votto. Comes up empty. Davis to save. Hoshaver the win. And Sampson the loss. Reds lose the 2-game series. And now the Arizona Diamondbacks will come to town to start a 4-game set tomorrow night. All right, we'll look forward to seeing you then. Reds Live, the postgame show, underway next.